Howdy folks, and welcome to the video for the Tier 4 German tech tree destroyer, the V-170. I recently was playing the G101, and I was talking about how these three torpedo boats, the V-25, the G101, and the V-170 kind of form a matched set in my memories. And so I wanted to see if the V-170 was as fun as I remember it. And guess what? It is. This is going to be a good game, a fun game with some highlights in it. Nice little tidy victory. Tier 4 is a really interesting experience. It's, in some ways, one could argue, kind of the purest expression of the game. For one thing, there's very few premiums, and the ones that are here are not super overpowered. I mean, you do have the Nikolai, which is pretty nuts, but you don't see a ton of those anymore these days. And then there's the Yubari, which is very good, but I would argue definitely not like unbeatable or overpowered. I'm making a mental note to myself here in the early stages of the game not to play the way I do in like tier 1 and tier 2 games where it's just all bots, because there's actually, I think, 4 players per side in this game. And I've had this problem recently where sometimes I still play as if there's only one player, because you do play differently when you are basically the protagonist and the hero. Like I would be shooting over to our cap to just basically protect it and try to, when it's all bots, you're just thinking to yourself, how do I sink as many bots as humanly possible? And you're not really paying much attention to defense. But in a game with all these players, you do have to be aware of this. Oof. First blood, devastating strike. Almost feel a little bad for that Clemson, but he came plowing around that corner. So that's the kind of thing that you can totally do against bots, and you just can't against players, right? Now, this is a bot, so I can play totally differently. Like I don't know that I would play this way against a player, but this is one of the great things about low tier torpedo boats, and in particular this German line, is they have really good reload on the torpedoes. Now I am going to make an error here, which is I'm going to forget that I only launched one set, and so the other set has another full 15 seconds to reload, and I'm going to take a shocking amount of damage from the secondaries of this Cavour, because bots, even though they can't aim their main guns, they absolutely can use and do use their secondaries very effectively. So that was definitely a tactical error. No need to take that 4K damage. And because of that, I'm going to be careful with this player. Like, I have to remember, again, don't be the hero. It's not necessary that I sink this Iron Duke. It's more important that I survive this engagement. He's taking himself out of the game, to be honest. He's sailing way too far out of position, particularly at these lower tiers. Battleships just don't have the ability to affect the entire map the way they do at higher tiers. He can't just sail to A10 and keep shooting at people. That's just not going to work. Which means, as a result, that I don't need to stress myself out trying to sink him. And in fact, that would be the wrong play. I need to get back and help with the cap. I have my eyes on that Yavuz, because for one thing, that's a bot, but for another thing, he is pushing into me, basically, in essence, because of the way our positions are. So yeah, the V-170 is still really fun. It's kind of just your average sort of destroyer's destroyer, right? It's not, I wouldn't describe it as a torpedo boat exactly, but it does have really good torpedoes. It also has really good guns, at least by tier 4 destroyer standards. It goes pretty fast, especially in a straight line, and especially with this engine boost up. It's got smokes. It's got pretty good hit points. So yeah, it's just kind of an all-arounder. The problem with the G101, one tier below, is that the concealment is really bad, but here we are back to something approaching normal. Not the amazing concealment of the V25, because that's 4.7. This is 5.5, which is, fine. So yeah, I mean, the V170 is kind of a good boat to just showcase your skill, because it's just kind of an all-arounder, right? It has a little bit of everything you need without being totally overpowered in anything. The main weirdness of these German destroyers at the 2, 3, and 4 tiers is this strange torpedo layout with these 2 torpedoes in front. But honestly, you can mostly choose to just ignore those. The 2 torpedo launchers in the back, which have 4 torpedoes, work very quote unquote normally. Now, here is something that I have learned to get better at recently with bots, which is I often used to underestimate them in a torpedo boat. Like, I assumed they would just sail in complete straight lines, and they really don't. Like, I wouldn't say they're very smart, but they don't just sail in straight lines, especially at shorter distances. So you do have to wait, just kind of like you would with a player. You have to wait for them to settle down and pick a lane, pick a direction, and then they will often stick with that for a while. There's kind of an art to telling when the bot is done maneuvering, and you can count on it to just sail in a straight line for a bit. It's kind of hard to put into words, but if you play with enough bots, you get a feeling for them. I do wish those torpedoes had sunk that guy, because now he could potentially spot me. And again, like, their main guns are not very good, but the secondaries are lethal, even on bots. And the V-170 is not huge, but certainly not tiny. You know, the V-25 always feels very small to me and stealthy, whereas the V-170 is more, I would just say, like, normal. Anyway, I'm mostly trying to light a fire here on this Yavuz. Wouldn't mind a little damage here and there, but mostly interested in the fires. Ah, well, turns out I don't even need the fire. We are up, by the way, to 91,000 damage. And not all of that on a player, because I sunk that Clemson early on. So, pretty spicy game, pretty juicy. A little bit of a mistake there. Took a couple shells. This torpedo's a little bit scary. Did not see that coming. Tempting to think the bot was reading my mind, but I think it's just more that he got a little lucky. I happened to be on that vector earlier, and so that's where he chose to launch that torpedo. Important to remember that some of the tier 3 and 4 battleships have torpedoes, including the Yavuz, which we're still seeing a lot of. But yeah, I mean, overall, I like the V-170. It's got some flaws. There's literally, I think literally, if not figuratively, no AA. I mean, the AA is really sad. So like a lot of low-tier destroyers, if you get an aircraft carrier and he chooses to just focus on you, it's really going to make it a lot less fun. But other than aircraft carriers, there's not too much to be afraid of in the V-170. If you play well and you stay out of detection range, and you use your torpedoes on targets that are pushing, and you use your guns when appropriate to fire over islands or from smoke, you can have a pretty great win record in the V-170, I would say. I mean, I wouldn't say it's exactly overpowered. It's not like broken, but it's just a really good, solid, fun ship. Yeah. Just a really, solid, fun ship. As long as you remember to play at an appropriate level of risk relative to the number of players. Still enjoying how many players there are at these low tiers. It's fun. Definitely a way different feel than there was a time there a few months back where it really just did feel like you were basically playing co-op. I don't know. What more is there to say about the V-170? At the next tier, you get to the T-22, which sets the stage for the more modern German destroyers. You lose this weird torpedo arrangement. But, you know, mostly they stay true to form. Other than that torpedo thing, they're basically just all-arounders. The T-22 is, the tier 5. I've already done the T-22. You can watch that video if you want. So, yeah, this game is well in hand. Just one Iron Duke left. He's trying to get as much damage as he can, which I understand. But, yeah. I like tier 4, tier 3, tier 4, tier 5. Especially tier 3 and tier 4. Tier 4 is really interesting because, you know, you get that plus and minus 1, right? You can play tier 3s or you can play tier 5s, and the game can feel very different. Once you get to tier 5, you start to get some ships that are more like the modern game. You know, you get some kind of unbalanced ships, what I would call, by which I don't mean, again, when I use that word, I don't mean like they're overpowered. I just mean they have some dynamic, like the Omaha, I think of, which has really strong strengths and weaknesses, some big, strong pluses. Like that's not an average ship, right? Omaha's very unusual. But yeah, that's the V-170. Over 100K, 3 kills, victory. Pretty solid game. Pretty nice game for an afternoon. So yeah, I think that'll do it for this one. Let's see what, 1300 XP, top of table. I will see you guys in the next video.